It's getting to the end of a day out in the woods. Got the fire going. We're going to cook up some bacon in a bit. But I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about something that's very dear to my heart. Now, I have made lots of videos on this subject, and I'm about to make another one. And it's about instinctive archery. And I just wanted to explain a little bit about what instinctive archery is. Now, there are a lot of people, and it's going to cause issues, and I don't know why, but whenever you mention instinctive archery on the internet, some people get their knickers in a twist about it, and you're going to get the sort of, oh, there's no such thing as instinctive archery comments, and I'm kind of done with them, to be honest. But I feel like I need to explain a little bit about instinctive archery, because those people that sort of, oh, there's no such thing as instinctive archery, you know the guys, you've met them. They either don't understand what instinctive archery is, or they've tried it and they're not very good at it. Now, I know that's a little bit of a generalization, and I hope I haven't offended anyone. But by making this video, I just wanted to explain briefly what instinctive archery is and what's involved. And I think the major problem with it, and the thing that gets people all confused and angry about it, is they get caught up in semantics. They get caught up in the semantics of the name, instinctive. And as I've said before, instinctive archery implies I could just give anybody a bow and they'd be able to shoot it, no problem, and start, drilling targets left, right, and center. And that's not the case. Instinctive archery is a learned skill, and it takes a long time to learn. It's not the quick fix. It's something that you have to train at. Just like any other type of archery, you have to work at it to get good at it. I think a lot of people get confused. I think a lot of people think, oh, it's not that easy. You can't just give someone it. That's not it. It takes a hell of a long time to get good at instinctive archery, and any decent instinctive archer will tell you that. And it's not just being good at instinctive archery. You have to be good at archery. You need to have a really good, solid foundation of archery, a good, solid form, a repeatable form. And you need to have a good mechanical way of shooting. And then you can apply the instinctive bit to it. The analogy I like to use is I call it the tent analogy. And if you think of archery as a tent, and you've got this sort of various sort of the frame of the tent, you're building up, putting it together. That's the nuts and bolts of archery. That's the solid form. That's repeatable form. The instinctive archery is the canvas that goes over the top. Now, you can't really have one without the other. And if you try and build a tent with the canvas first, and then try and put the skeletal frame inside, you're going to have a bad time. It's not going to work. So you need to have a really solid understanding of archery before you can really start throwing yourself at instinctive archery. And it's just, like I say, it's something that's very dear to my heart, and it's something I've done for a very long time. I mean, when I first started shooting, I was shooting instinctively. But it wasn't called instinctive archery then. I didn't even know it was a thing back then. It was just something I did. It was just training myself to look at something and hit it. And it took a long time to be able to do that competently. And you've got to keep that brain going. You've got to keep working at it. You've got to keep focused. You've got to keep looking at, focusing, working on form, and making sure you can do it. And it's not a shortcut. I'm sure if you followed me on any form of social media over the past year or so, you'd have heard me mention the long path, and it's a book I'm working on at the moment, and it's a common sense anecdotal guide to traditional and instinctive archery, and it's called the long path because that's what it is. There's no shortcuts when it comes to archery. You've got to throw yourself at it. You've got to work at it. You've got to make the mistakes. You've got to learn what works and what doesn't work, and it's not this mystical, magical thing that so many people, so many of its detractors say it is, and it's not. It's really hard work, but it is infinitely the most enjoyable way of shooting. And I've tried gap shooting, and I can gap shoot. I understand the mechanics of it, and when I do it and I can work the distance out, I'm pretty good at it. But I don't enjoy it. I get so much satisfaction about eyeballing a spot on a target and letting an arrow go and hitting it. That's what makes me happy. gap shooting or string walking doesn't make me happy. That doesn't mean they're not valid forms of archery. They're brilliant forms of archery. And if that's the way you want to do it, please do it, enjoy it, and have fun doing it. But the way I enjoy it is instinctive. And the way hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of people out there enjoy instinctive archery. And it's not just archery that's instinctive. There are so many sports out there that are instinctive, but they seem to get a free pass when it comes to the instinctive part. Nobody seems to care. But the second you mention it in archery, whoo, the internet explodes. So, I mean, for example, look at ice hockey. Now, I grew up playing ice hockey. And when you take a slap shot, you don't aim a slap shot. You look at where you want to put the puck and you send it there. And there's no sight on the end of your stick or anything. You're instinctively aiming that puck. I also grew up playing sort of a bit of baseball, and in my later years, I quite enjoyed playing softball in the summer. And you know, when you throw that ball to the second baseman or wherever, you're not aiming that ball. You're just throwing that ball. But the first time you do it, it's not going to be very good. You're probably going to miss. But that's why you practice it. You practice throwing the ball to the second baseman. You practice throwing the ball home. You practice throwing the ball to wherever. And you get better at it because you're practicing it. It's a learned skill. Say, for example, we go out into the woods and I put an old tin can on the fence post and I give you a bucket of stones and I try and get you to knock that can off with a stone. The first time you try it, you're probably going to miss. Second time, you're going to miss. Third, fourth, fifth, you're probably going to miss. But every time you do it, you're going to miss by a little bit less. And that area of missing, that area of error is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller till you can almost consistently knock the can off the fence post. And that's not anything mystical. That's you getting better at it. That's your brain and your body working together to do something, a function, to try and knock that can off the post. And that's what instinctive archery is. You're working at it. You've got to put the effort in and you've got to focus and it will come. It's not magic. It's not mystical. I've said a million times over that it's probably instinctive archery isn't the best name for it. It's probably intuitive archery is probably the better name for it. But to sort of, in various forums on the internet at the moment, I see people, to be honest, kind of being dicks about instinctive archery, and it's not called for. There's no need for it. It's a valid form of archery. Like I say, hundreds of thousands of people across the world for thousands of years have done it. The bow and arrow has been part of human DNA for as long as we've been humans. And do you think cavemen used a complicated, convoluted system? No, they just looked at what they wanted to shoot and shoot it. They practiced it. They did it. They did it over and over and over again until they get good at it. And that's what archery is. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how you shoot. It doesn't matter if you're a gap shooter. It doesn't matter if you, a string walker. It doesn't matter if you've got any form of system. As long as you're shooting, that's the important thing. And we need to stop this kind of BS of belittling different styles. We're all in it together. We're all doing the same thing. We're all doing something because we like shooting at something and hitting it. And however you decide to approach it is absolutely fine. But instinctive archery is definitely a thing. It's not an easy thing. It's something you have to work at, and it's a skill you have to practice and learn. And yeah, that's kind of instinctive archery. Now, it's been quite nice sitting out in the woods, having a mini little rant about instinctive archery. I say the fire's been going for a while, so we're probably going to cook up some bacon or something now. Maybe even try and get around the few targets before it gets too dark. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed that little row. It's not really a rant, but it's been quite nice to get that off my chest. But anyway, you take care, shoot straight, and I'll see you on the internet. Bye-bye.